Welcome to Async. This is Joshua. I'm at my desk today because it's a little bit cold outside, and I just didn't want to go outside. We're renovating the home office, so it's getting close to done. The walls are a little bit bare right now, but it's getting nice. I'll figure out the mic setup and everything later. Hopefully the mic is okay on this. This will actually touch on a point later. I've been doing some neck exercises. Found a video on YouTube, and that kind of matches with some exercises, some stretches I've been doing. Movement by Dave, another YouTube channel. I've been doing that for a couple of weeks now. I started doing some neck stretches today. And I think I'm realizing that because of how much I sit at a desk, I need to compensate for that. I do run weekly, multiple times a week. I've been doing that for years, but I don't think it's enough. I think I need to also be doing stretches, movements, maybe start lifting some weights, much to my chagrin. And I'm hoping that will help with I have a lot of neck fatigue, shoulders. I often just feel achy from sitting all day, and I've been doing this now for a long time. So neck stretches, we'll see how it works. I'm hoping that will help. I've got an injury from a bicycle crash 5 years ago that's caused some issues on my neck, and working at a computer all day doesn't help. All right, a little bit of follow-up. You referenced the color Kindles. Oh man, I want to get one. I'm so tempted by that. I also have been looking at the Remarkable Pro. That looks fantastic. They're very costly when I've got an iPad mini that technically can do all these things. So I haven't been able to justify it. I do have a Kindle, a Paperwhite, but it's USB micro. And I have to always fish around and find that cord. And just something about not being USB-C kind of bothers me. Which also brings around the point that I'm excited that the Apple keyboard and mouse will finally be USB-C compatible. I'm getting close. I still got items, but I'm getting close to, I can see in a couple of years where we will be USB-C only and no Lightning. We're still in that transition point. It's a minor annoyance. It's one of those things that really doesn't matter, but I'm always fishing for cords and trying to see at the end of the cord, is it the right one? Is it the Lightning or the USB-C? A little bit of follow-up with the game of the day. I do like to follow basketball and NBA, so I subscribe, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. I generally am more interested around the playoffs time, and I've been following Greatest of All Talk. It's a podcast from Stratechery. I've been enjoying that the last couple of years. So that's kind of how I've gotten back into basketball since being a Sacramento Kings fan as a kid, and I've been enjoying it. NFL, I'm just really not into. I've never been able to fully understand the sport. Basketball, I feel like I can understand a little bit more. All right, let's see here. You asked me about conversational awareness on the AirPods. I have tried it, but I've found that usually the person is already a sentence into talking by the time it kicks in, and by the time I respond and say something, and then as soon as I'm done, the podcast or the audio comes right back on, and it's just not smart enough to respond the way that I want, which is, for instance, if I'm in the kitchen, I'll be washing dishes, and my wife will ask me a question, and what I want to do is pause right then. I'd love if I could rewind her conversation 5 seconds to hear the start of it. That'd be great, but that's not possible. I'd love to pause, have a conversation with her, have a natural point where it needs to go. Maybe I stop listening altogether and we carry on a conversation, or if it's just a quick interaction, then I would like if the AirPod were smart enough to understand that and then resume, but I don't want it to resume by default. Just because there's no programmed way to how conversations happens with a family member in the house or with friends. And I've been trying the Apple Watch. The Ultra has the ability to play and pause with double tapping your finger like this, and I have not found it to work consistently. It would be fantastic, right? If I'm washing dishes, my hands are all wet with soap and everything, and I could just double tap. Never gotten it to work once consistently. So this conversational awareness is kind of like that feature, where great in theory, in practice, useless. Kind of frankly like the camera button and the action button. All these things just do not work 100% of the time the way I want them to. I just don't use them. And in general, it's just a frustration point I have with all of these smart features. All right, that rant out of the way, which is why I do not use Siri. Probably will never use it. willing to give it one more shot with these new features coming out. But yeah, all of this, it's just not smart enough. Maybe this is old millennial talking, right? Maybe this is a thing where Gen Z appreciates these more. I love your point about who's this podcast for. I've grown up in a world where I've learned how to do things very manually, and I'm fast and efficient at it. For instance, these writing tools. I love to write. I don't want a tool that writes for me. I wouldn't mind one that summarizes for me. That's another topic for another day, but I just gave it a try today. I tried to take my whole novel and use the iOS 18.1 or 2 feature to summarize it, and that was too much for it, just errored out. But I would find that valuable if I could write a chapter or write a book, have it summarize the points. Let's just go a chapter. Have it summarize the points of the chapter so it would help me remember what the chapter was about. Maybe that would be interesting, but still I've kind of done that manually. All right, career switch. You know, I've been part of multiple startups and worked toward an exit as well. Have not had one yet, so I've continued being in the point where the salary is important. So I've switched different jobs and done freelance. I'm currently at a W-2 job where that is the primary income that I need. And I've been doing this for 17 years now, where I enjoy it, I'm good at it, but I do feel like I don't know if I've got another 10, 20 years in me. Maybe I'm just feeling old. I'm in my late 30s, and yeah, gardening, woodworking, that sounds kind of awesome to spend more time with that. I don't know if I'll get that chance. So when I talk to younger people about career, I do wonder, like, you know, I was a tree lobber, never used that term, but I used to do that before I got into this career. I did it for a short period of time. And after I would talk to all the older, I think it was all guys that I'd spoken with at the time who had been doing tree trimming, they would always walk away with a limp because they got horribly disfigured at some point. And that kind of made me think I would get into computers. So now, looking back, nearing 2 decades later, I'm happy with my decision, but I do wonder if this is what I want to do for another 2 decades. Your question just got me thinking a lot about where I see time going forward at this point. And frankly, I'm more in, right now, the stage is spend time with people I love. My kids are growing up, having an awesome time hanging out with them, trying to be more intentional about that. And frankly, I feel like I could do better, but then also like appreciate the having a job and do my best with that. And then outside of that, dream and play with ideas. That's kind of where I think things have settled. And it's a point of which, yeah, I'm not pushing as hard as I used to. Maybe I'll push hard again, but I'm also trying to find peace in it all. All right, so new topic. All right, I have written a little bit about my process. I was debating between 3 topics. We're gonna just do this one today. I've written about my process of when I'm in a meeting, and these are, I'd say exclusively at this point over Zoom. I need to capture things from that meeting. That's what I do. I don't use any, again, AI for this. I don't use any summarizing software for this. I want to know my notes. So I type rather quickly. I can type about 80 to 120 words a minute, depending on how I'm feeling. And I'll type these notes. And I've found that I do it in Apple Notes, and I use the checklist. So every single note, every paragraph has a bullet beside it that I can check off. And what I'll do is I will take a screenshot of that. Here's an example. I'm rambling a little bit. Let's say that we're screen sharing and I'm working with a colleague and we're going over a design. I will take notes about what I need to change, what our discussion is, then I'll take a screenshot and I will add notes to that screenshot. And that screenshot, I use software called Droplr or CleanShotX to instantly give me a URL that I then just paste into that note, and I just keep typing. It is fantastic. It's a game changer for me. I first learned about this almost a decade ago, and I cannot use a laptop without it. It's such a functional part of how I work. I got a lifetime subscription to Droplr way back when you and I were working at this agency years ago. And it was lifetime for $50. Absolutely amazing. So I would take a screenshot of something, it gives me a URL, and I would drop that into whatever note I was working on. They recently updated their software, and I cannot figure out how to get around this, where when you go to do the screenshot shortcut, it will ask you if you want full screen or partial. There's no way around it that I've found, and it slows down my process. I can't just paste and keep typing. So I had to switch to CleanShot-X, which is a great tool. I'm pretty happy with it. It has a slight delay over what I prefer. So Dropware used to be like 0.5 seconds and I have a URL. This one's like a second and I have a URL. And it doesn't sound like much, but if you're typing really quickly and you paste and you thought you took another screenshot and you paste, you actually can lose data. So I am now a paid member of CleanShot-X. I'm paying $10 a month for that because I don't have it, can't figure out any other tool or solution to get Dropware working. This kind of comes back to the original point. I've got all these manual processes that I've developed over years, and I love using them for creating. I wonder if that's how the next generation will function, if that's how they'll create things, if that's how they'll think. I'm not sure. My method of creating is capture, absorb, edit, and refine. I'm really curious to see how, let's say, if app design is even a thing in the future, how would a younger designer do that? I don't know. So that's a little bit that's been on my mind today. The fall is arriving in Idaho, getting a little bit colder, but spirits are high.